Hi, everybody. This week's First Chapter Friday is My Aunt is a Monster by Reimena. And this book is so cool. It's a graphic novel and it's about a student who is visually impaired, and her aunt is literally a monster. But because the main character is, and so let me back up. The aunt is literally monster, and she's like, people and everybody in the town is scared of her and they think she's kind of like weird. And the main character, because she is visually impaired, does not realize that her aunt looks any different than anybody else. So they develop this really loving, unprejudiced relationship together, which is really cool. There's also a lot of adventure in this story because they are globe-trotting adventurers, and it's also a book that is on this month's or this year's Golden Dome Award list for the state of Vermont. So it is one of the books that hopefully folks are reading and are chosen by librarians as some really good books that have come out in the last year. And in the spring, if you've read at least 5 of these books, you'll get to vote on the actual winner. I also want to point out that for our monthly book challenge for the month of November, we are your challenge is to read one of the books that's on the Golden Dome Award list for this year, preferably this year. Although if you want to read one from a different year, that's fine. Anyone who participates in the challenge can come to the library at the end of the month. We'll have a special little gathering. We'll have some snacks. We'll talk about the books. It'll be really fun. So let's take a look at My Aunt is a Monster. So, My Aunt is a Monster. So this is a prologue, where the prologue means it's like a little bit of a story that's not really part of the story. It's just giving you some background. Prologue. Once upon a time, there was a blind little girl named Sophia who lived in a little bookshop in a laneway that smelled of roasted chestnuts and pine leaves opposite the lamppost where the cobblestones were uneven. And I just want to point out to you, the illustrations in this book are absolutely beautiful. That's one of the things that really drew me to this story as well. In this cozy little place, her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Haziz, who were not so little, sold every kind of book to all kinds of children, the little ones, the middle-sized ones, and the grown-up ones. Every night before bed, Safia and her parents would pick one special book from one of their many shelves, and together they would read many strange and wondrous stories about swashbuckling pirates, chivalrous knights, and brave explorers. Tucked in wonder, Safia would then dream happily of a dozen lives and a dozen adventures she hoped would be hers someday. But sadly, like adventures and stories and life, every dream must have a beginning and an end. Hey there, it's time to go now. So do you understand what happened in this story? I'm going to go back because when I first looked at this, I didn't understand what this picture meant, but I think that this picture is supposed to be a fire, because here you can see all of the burned things. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a little bookshop in a laneway that smelled of roasted chestnuts and pine leaves opposite the lamppost where the cobblestones were uneven. The end. Don't worry, the story isn't all sad. Or so it could have been. With a sly fox's grin, Miss Fisher opened the safe. A gasp rose from the crowd. Inside, to everyone's astonishment, was a missing diamond of Brookham. Sophia Haziz? Hi, Sophia. Good news. We found your distant aunt. Soon, little Sophia would discover that out there in a different house, on a different hill, where the world is full of strange and wondrous things, and where endings can become beginnings, her greatest adventure awaits. My Aunt is a Monster by Reimena. Chapter 1. Walter Ann Hakeem Whimsy? Strange name. Don't judge. I'm not. I'm only commenting. If you say so. Hey, kiddo, how are you doing back there? Anyways, I'm glad we managed to find someone local to take her in. Everyone else in the family lives so far away. Like, Cairo, Delhi. Hopefully, moving in with her aunt will help with her recovery. Poor girl, she's been so lonely. That fire was a bad one. It really was. Oh, wait. Okay, now before I turn the page, I just want to point out, notice that a lot of this book is more of just kind of like an illustrated novel where there's just pictures, but there are graphic novel panels embedded. So when you see a panel, when you're reading a graphic novel, you always, at least if you're reading like an American graphic novel, not a manga, which is backwards, back to front. Those are the Japanese ones. But an American graphic novel, um, they read left to right and then top to bottom. So I read this panel, then this panel, and then I went down to this panel, this one, then this one, then this one. And then I came over here to this page and I started at the top and then went down. Okay. And if you were reading the actual print book, this left side is one page and the right side is another page. That makes it a little bit easier to know which order to go in. Okay. Steph, are you sure Ms. Whimsy lives here? Guess so. Why? Oh man, I forgot you aren't local. We've got too many spooky stories from these woods, like ghosts walking about and trees attacking people. Is this a joke? No, no way, I swear. Barely anyone wants to come up here. And the house on the hill? They say if you wait long enough, you just might see a terrible monster behind the windows. A monster, huh? I had no idea people would actually choose to live here. One more little aside. Notice how this speech bubble has it's solid and it has a pointy thing coming down. That's how you know it was actually said out loud. But see how this speech bubble is kind of fluffier and it has little circles leading up to it? That means it's a thought bubble. So she thought that, but she didn't say it out loud. Okay, moving on. Is this the house you were talking about? Woof, it sure looks haunted. Oi, don't just stand there. Let's go, go, go. Brr, I'm getting the chills. You're telling me. What's Rob? Did you feel that? I felt something run past my legs. I didn't see anything. Oh, thank Jeeves. We're finally here. Ding dong. Steph, I just had a thought. I mean, what if a monster actually lives here? What if the rumors are true? Ah! Oh, you aren't a monster. A monster? Absurd. So, this is our new ward. We've been expecting you. I'm Miss Catherine, housekeeper, and one of your guardians. Hello and welcome. Come inside. Ma'am, there is paperwork to sign. Ah, right. Leave your luggage with me, dear. Now, I represent Whimsy in all matters. Legal, mundane, and extraordinary. Oh, Blanc. Did something drop? Worry not. I'm here. To the rescue! Gasp. Could it be? Hello, hello. You must be my niece, many times removed. Don't mind my fuzzy gloves. My hands get so cold so easily without them. I'm your Aunt Whimsy. Hi, Auntie Whimsy. Is it true there's a monster in your house? Monster? Ha ha ha! Oh no, it's only me, Walter Ann Hakeem Whimsy. Welcome to my humble home. I'm sorry I touched your things, Auntie. No, no, don't be. After all, I collect these strange and wondrous trinkets from all over the world so they can be admired by children like you. Really? Does that mean you're an adventurer? Yes, really. And I'm proud to say I was once the world's greatest adventurer. I used to travel to all kinds of far-flung places and indulged in all sorts of far-fetched things all the time for the magazine I used to write. Whoa, you're so cool. Ha ha, indeed. I'm now retired, but I certainly lived quite a life. All right, Sophia, open your hands. Salt Diamond Bunny Slug from the depths of the very dead lake, made with love by a perhaps now dead artisan, one of my favorite trinkets. And now yours. I thank you. I am honored to share it with you. Please peruse my collections anytime. My home is yours too. But first, can you keep a secret with me? What is it, Auntie? Sophia, I was in an accident years ago and I'm disfigured. Oh, I know. It's hard. I've taken great pains to manage my condition, to hide it even, yet sometimes is is that why they call you a monster? Hmm. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Hmm. People can be cruel. I'm sure you understand. So, can you promise me that? Can you promise you will never bring up my secret when you speak of me to other people? Is that okay? Yes, Auntie, I promise. I'll keep your secret. Thank you. A strange and wondrous tale. Once upon a time, a strange and wondrous thing happened. Aunt Whimsy was born. This greatly pleased her parents, who taught in the department of understudied subjects at the local university, specializing in the world's odds and ends. They loved their jobs, but their true passion in life, other than their only daughter, was their quarterly magazine, Observations of the Strange and Wondrous, edited by Walter Hakim and Anne Haziz, or Observations for short. Some highlights of the magazine: Salt Diamond Sea Urchin, Issue 6. A long gone sea urchin from the very dead lake, anything that is immersed in the lake becomes encased in layers of sparkling salt. An annual festival encourages local and international artists to design the most beautiful and unusual salt encased objects. Mysterious Animal, Issue 15. Still unidentified, a creature that is invisible but leaves behind hair and the victim of its mischief, usually a household object. The Man with a Very Long and Strong Mustache, Issue 1. One man from the southern seas spent years and much money on hair products to groom one amazing mustache. It is apparently stiff and strong enough to carry his children on each side. Tiny Ancient Coins, Issue 11. It is a wonder how these coins were not lost, either by the ravages of time or Butterfingers. The magazine did not earn them a lot of money or fame, but it gave the professors and their friends joy, and that was enough. Then another strange and wondrous thing happened. When Auntie Whimsy was 6, a faraway uncle passed on from a tremendous old age. Suddenly, Professor Hakim became the new Lord Hakim Whimsy, heir of the Whimsy fortune. The new Whimsy family left their old university and their old house on the hill behind for a new life in a new country. Now, flush with time and money, they pursued their lifelong dream of becoming full-time editors for the Observations. They globetrotted: World's Largest Omelet, Issue 30, Animatronics Parade, Issue 45. They globe sailed and globe flew to witness and review the strangest and most wondrous arts and curiosities around the world. Hot air balloon stargazing, Issue 61. Their favorite was the tap dancing flamingos of Lake Oh Boy, Oh Boy It's Hot. Lake Oh Boy It's Hot, Issue 65. So it came as no surprise that when Auntie Whimsy grew up, she followed in her parents' footsteps. She would wander off to far-off lands in search of far-out wonders to highlight and celebrate for the magazines. She was particularly passionate about finding extremely lost things. But it was her brilliantly lived tales of swashbuckling, pirating, knighting, and princessing, and brave, dangerous exploring that turned her into the world's greatest adventurer. There was nothing Auntie Whimsy couldn't do or achieve. For many years, life was good. But sadly, like dreams and stories and life, every adventure must have a beginning and an end. One fateful journey, a peculiarly strange and wondrous thing happened, though not in the way anyone expected. And what this headline says is, renowned editor-adventurer declared extremely lost. The Institute of Extremely Found Things in Lost History regrets to report the sudden mysterious disappearance of prolific adventurer and editor of Observations, Lady Walter Ann H. Whimsy, and her assistant, Catherine Blanca, following an ambitious solo expedition to the mountains of the subcontinent. Despite the best efforts of everyone, including the Institute of Extremely Found Things, Lady Whimsy was never to be found again. And so the world's greatest adventurer, along with her career and her assistant, were presumed irrevocably lost and very dead. Or so they thought. How are you settling in? I'm comfy. Lovely. You know, I was terrified before you arrived. I've never parented a child before. If it makes you feel better, I've never had a cool relative until you. Ha! Well, I'm glad we're taking our first baby steps together. I heard about I'm sorry, it must be so difficult. It's okay. I just miss them, is all. Is there anything your parents have done with you that I may continue in their honor? A routine? A tradition, perhaps? They used to read me stories before bed. Ah, so that's what these tapes are for. Around the World in 80 Days, The Thrilling Tales of Miss Fisher. Yeah, it's just not the same. It's not their books or their voices. Auntie? Hmm? Is the world really as wonderful as my books say it is? Oh, yes! Bigger and stranger and even more wondrous than books can ever describe. Listen, I visited forests under the sea, savored cotton candy pink tea, and met the Pope of a very small country. Really? And these are only some of the many special things our world has to offer, if you're willing to seek them out. Have you experienced them all yet? Oh, if only. The trouble with being a lover of this world is that you'll never have enough of it, no matter how old you get. You'll always find one more reason to stay in love, and that's why the adventure never ends. Will you please take me on an adventure someday? I hope so. Someday, my dear, I'll show you the world. I promise. Okay, that's the end of chapter 1, so we're going to stop there. I hope you like this story. It's a little quirky, it's a little funny, it's a little adventurous, and it is definitely something you should check out in our library.